warrior of the self, welcome. You are tired of the noise. You feel the constant pressure of modern life demanding you earn, chase, beg for, or explain your own inherent worth. When you're hurt or misunderstood, the world screams, fight, justify, prove your value, and you try. You send the long paragraph, you make the desperate call, handing over your most precious resource, your inner peace, to someone else's fickle judgment. This draining cycle, where your well-being depends on an external response, is the great lie holding you captive. But there is a path to genuine freedom. The Stoics, Epictetus, Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, mastered a power far greater than argument: silence. True strength is not found in the volume of your voice, but in the unshakable quality of your stillness. It is the power to look at chaos and choose peace. Today, we delve into the 6 disciplines of this Stoic superpower. We will teach you intentional, focused, high-value non-reaction, a silence so profound it commands respect and instantly reclaims the power you unknowingly gave away. If you are ready to stop weeping over messages you shouldn't have sent, if you are ready to shift from begging to sovereign presence, this is your moment. Let your journey to becoming unconquerable begin now. If the idea of reclaiming your inner power resonates deeply, take a moment to hit that like button. Share this with one person who you know needs to hear this truth. But first, affirm this commitment in the comments section below. Affirmation: I am the sovereign of my reaction. My silence is my sanctuary. Silence as the ultimate emotional boundary. The most common trap in personal conflict is the immediate urge to defend. Someone criticizes you, someone disrespects you, someone ghosted you. Your internal alarm system screams, prove them wrong, fight back, show who you really are. The Stoic pause. This is where mastery begins. The Stoic understands that most disrespectful or chaotic behavior is not truly about you. It is a psychological projection, an externalizing of the other person's own inadequacy. Their attempt to provoke you is in essence an invitation to chaos. They are throwing a match onto your life, hoping you will provide the dry kindling of your reaction. Consider the famous anecdote of Epictetus, who taught that if a person insulted him, it was merely their opinion, and therefore something external and not under his control. If a rude person throws a stone at you, you do not feel compelled to pick up a larger stone and throw it back. You simply sidestep. Your silence is the sidestep. It is the ultimate refusal to pick up their emotional stone. When you refuse to engage, you are not being passive, you are being profoundly strategic. You are declaring, without saying a word, that you value your inner state, your eudaimonia or flourishing, more than the fleeting ego-driven satisfaction of being right. The boundary of silence is unique because it is the only boundary that cannot be argued with. They can argue with your words, but they cannot argue with your absence or your stillness. It is a stone wall they crash into. The power of withdrawing the fuel. Every toxic person operates on the fuel of your attention and your emotional response. When you go silent, you starve the fire. The flame sputters, not because you doused it with argument, but because you simply withdrew the air it needed to breathe. This is the essence of conserving your precious psychic energy for things that are truly within your sphere of control, as Marcus Aurelius constantly reminded himself. You stop wasting your limited time trying to manage the external, unmanageable judgments of others. In practice, when you receive a deliberately hurtful text or a passive-aggressive remark, do not reply immediately. Go silent for 24 hours. Use that time not to draft a response, but to practice mimesis, the Stoic exercise of acknowledging the pain without endorsing the urge to retaliate. You will find that the clarity you gain in that silence makes the perfect, dignified response, or more often no response at all, self-evident. Number 2. silence as the conductor of self-truth. In moments of deep hurt, betrayal, or rejection, the world screams for action. Friends advise, social media provokes comparison, and your own ego howls for validation. This external noise is paradoxically the very thing that prevents you from understanding the truth of the situation. The Stoic retreat. The true strength of the Stoic is the ability to retreat into the citadel of the self when the emotional storm is at its peak. This is not escape, it is a strategic maneuver for clarity. Real answers do not come from the endless loop of explanation and defense. They surface in the profound quiet of disciplined self-reflection. Seneca emphasized that philosophy should be practiced daily, examining our actions and thoughts. When you are silent, you are finally giving yourself the necessary space to perform this ruthless self-examination. What do you hear when the noise stops? You hear the uncomfortable yet necessary truths. I am not angry because they left. I am angry because I allowed myself to stay when the signs were clear. They did not respect me. My problem was not their action, but my estimation of them. I don't need closure from them. I need peace from myself. The separation of emotion and value. When your emotions are high, they cloud your judgment and scream for an emotional, often destructive reaction. But when you enforce silence, you create a necessary vacuum for your deeper, more reasoned values to speak. Your values whisper, hold your dignity, protect your peace, accept the situation as it is, not as you desperately wish it were. The silent mind is the disciplined mind. It allows you to separate the thing itself, the external event, the rejection, from your judgment of it, the pain, the feeling of unworthiness. As Marcus Aurelius instructed, we have the power to revoke our painful estimate of any external thing. This revocation is done not with words spoken to others, but with silent contemplation within yourself. The power of stillness in decision-making. This is why Stoics never made decisions in the heat of anger or sorrow. They mastered the sacred pause. Before you send that text, before you make that impulsive call, stop. Be still. Your silence is intentional. It's not passive waiting. It is active internal listening. The answer is not outside, seeking validation from an unreliable source. It is inside, awaiting the quiet moment when you are ready to hear it. If this truth about inner listening has changed your perspective, let me know. Drop a comment saying inner wisdom, and please subscribe to the channel for more content that builds real, internal resilience. Number 3. Silence as self-forgiveness and internal closure. The yearning for closure is one of the most persistent, seductive lies of modern emotional life. We are obsessed with the idea of a final, clean, explanatory conversation. The brutal truth of closure. If someone truly possessed the emotional maturity, empathy, and respect required to give you closure, they likely would not have inflicted the wound in the first place. Therefore, chasing closure from the source of your pain is an act of repeatedly asking a broken well to provide fresh water. The Stoic reframe, closure as self-sovereignty. Epictetus's advice rings profoundly true here. Don't explain your philosophy, embody it. When you stop chasing the explanation, you start embodying the closure. You recognize that asking for one last conversation is often just your ego fighting for a final chance to feel validated. You accept that the answer they give you, no matter how elaborate, will almost certainly be inadequate, plunging you into even more confusion and pain. You realize that waiting for their validation is the highest form of self-betrayal, because you are handing them the final word on your pain. The liberation in self-granting. Real, lasting peace comes when you finally, quietly say to yourself, I accept that what they gave me was the most they were capable of giving. That is the final explanation I will ever need. This acceptance is the true act of closure. It is an internal decree. Your silence in this context is the definitive final word. The person who left doesn't need to say goodbye. You can say it silently to yourself. The one who ghosted doesn't need to be brought back for a final explanation. Your silence is their answer, the answer that you are moving on. The person who disrespected you doesn't need to understand your worth. You do. Stop writing those unsent letters. Stop rehearsing the perfect parting speech. Go silent. Let your silence be the space where self-respect and self-compassion finally take root, replacing the desperate, draining search for external validation. You are the only one capable of truly healing the broken expectations, and that healing occurs best without the noise of the past. Number 4, silence as the illuminator of true character. Words, while essential, are also the world's most sophisticated tool for deception. People can talk their way out of accountability, they can offer empty apologies, and they can use rhetoric to create an illusion of virtue. They say what they think they should say, not what they truly are. Ralph Waldo Emerson's quote, often echoed in Stoic philosophy, is key. What you do speaks so loudly that I cannot hear what you say. The observant, silence. The Stoic master is not just silent, they are observant. When you stop talking, stop chasing, and stop explaining, you create a silent stage, and everyone else is forced to perform their true character. Your silence is not passive, it is an active diagnostic tool. It is the cold, quiet clarity that melts away the verbal smokescreen. The user. When you stop giving, they disappear instantly. The manipulator. They will escalate their tactics, becoming angry or frantic. The person of good character. They will approach with genuine humility, respect, and a question aimed at understanding. The reality reveal. Words create illusion. Silence reveals reality. You don't need to challenge someone to see their worth. You need to withdraw your words and observe their actions. Their distance, their apathy, their attempts to provoke. All of these become your factual, undeniable evidence. The pain of non-reaction. Sometimes your silence hurts someone more than any confrontation ever could. Why? Because people can easily dismiss your opinion, but they cannot dismiss your absence. They can argue against your feelings, but they cannot argue against the simple, unshakable fact of your stillness. This pain is not malicious. It is the necessary exposure to truth. It compels them to see what they have lost. You stop needing people to explain why they treated you badly, because their current actions, their silence, their distance, already provided the definitive, unadorned truth. You learn to trust patterns over promises and energy over explanations. This clear-sightedness is one of the greatest, yet often overlooked, gifts of Stoic discipline. It is the ability to see things as they are, without the distorting lens of ego or desperate hope. If you've gained clarity from this video, please consider sharing it with someone who needs to stop chasing and start observing. And if you haven't yet, hit that like button to affirm your power. No 5. Silence as the zenith of self-confidence. The highest form of confidence is not found in the loud boast, the aggressive defense, or the lengthy self-justification. It is found in the unspoken certainty of your own value. When you feel the painful urge to explain yourself, what is that truly? It is a fear, the fear of being misjudged, mislabeled, or misunderstood. You are essentially spending your limited, precious life force trying to convince someone else that your internal reality is correct. The Aurelian Principle. Marcus Aurelius advised us not to waste what remains of your life in speculating about your neighbors, unless it's for some mutual benefit. Every word you speak in defense of your character to someone who has already judged you is a waste of the finite time remaining in your life. That is not power. That is deep-seated insecurity masked as advocacy. The alignment of the silent warrior. The person who does not explain themselves is not arrogant. They are aligned. They are at peace because their intentions are clean, Their actions are consistent with their values, and their self-worth is an internal constant, not an external variable. Their value does not need to be translated or spoon-fed to those who lack the empathy or maturity to recognize it. Losing the wrong people. This path of silent confidence is not easy. You will be labeled cold, self-important, or selfish. You may lose people who were comfortable with the old, easily manipulated version of you. But the Stoic perspective is clear. Losing people who never truly saw you is not a loss. It is an alignment. You are simply clearing the space for those whose respect is based on your character, not their control over your reactions. Leading with energy, not justification. When you stop explaining your distance, your choice of path, or your need for peace, you begin to lead with your energy. You don't justify why you walked away. You simply walk. And those who are genuinely meant to be in your life will understand the depth and validity of that silence without needing subtitles. This energy repels manipulators, bores users, and attracts the respectful few. Your dignity should not require a detailed written defense. Your life is the evidence. Let the evidence speak without comment. 6. Silence as the master educator of consequence. There is a unique and irreversible power in walking away, not in a fit of rage or a dramatic declaration, but in quiet, deliberate detachment. You do not give them the satisfying drama of an exit speech. You simply and calmly remove your energy, your attention, and your physical presence. The Senecan reflection. Seneca reminds us that we suffer more often in imagination than in reality. When you go silent, you leave them alone with their imagination, their guilt, and the vast, undeniable echo of your absence. This void is where the real lesson begins, because you have stopped shielding them from the consequences of their own actions. Your detachment speaks volumes. I value my peace over my need to prove myself to you. I will not stay where I am disrespected. I have decided that my connection to my dignity is more important than my connection to you. The shock of dignity. Most people expect you to chase, to beg, to fight for your place. When you go silent, you remove the one element they thought they controlled, your emotional response. They lose the ability to manipulate you, to provoke you, or to explain away your feelings. This calm, non-reactive exit scares them more than any argument, because it proves you have an access to self-worth that is independent of them. The true lesson is distance. People rarely learn from words. They learn, if ever, from consequence and distance. You can scream, "Respect me," for years, and they will only hear noise. But when your absence makes them confront what they truly lost, not your words, but your inherent value, your warmth, your light, that is the moment change is possible. And if they don't change, if they never understand, that is okay. The primary beneficiary of this lesson is always you. You learned that your peace is self-sufficient. You learned that you can exit toxic patterns with dignity. You learned that silence is not just strength. It is the highest form of emotional healing, allowing you to stop bleeding in front of people who are incapable of understanding your pain. You simply stop being available. You don't have to yell, "I'm done." You can just be done. Conclusion. The triumph of the unconquerable self. Brave Stoic traveler, if you have made it this far, you feel the shift. The power you are seeking is not found externally in the validation of others. It resides within your capacity for stillness, for detachment, and for intentional non-reaction. The foundation of Stoicism is not coldness, it is profound clarity. It is the absolute refusal to surrender your emotional state to things that are outside your control. There will always be moments of doubt, the late-night urge to explain, the instinctive desire to chase. But in those moments, remember the 6 disciplines of silence. Remember that every time you choose not to react, you build inner peace. Every time you walk away quietly, you affirm your self-worth. Every time you keep your dignity intact, you build a power that is unconquerable. Let your life become your explanation. Let your actions be your argument. And let your silence be your final word, not out of spite, but out of a deep, unshakable reverence for your own sovereign soul. Thank you for watching. If this script resonated, like it now, and share it with someone who needs this power. Subscribe for more Stoic wisdom every week. I want you to drop your final, most powerful affirmation in the comments section, a declaration of your triumph. My unconquerable silence is my greatest power and the truest expression of my dignity.